Bebop first aired on American television on September 2nd, 2001, on the Adult Swim programming block. It quickly became my favorite anime of all time, which it remains to this day. But oddly enough, it was the day before it started on Adult Swim that the movie was released in Japan. It wouldn't be until almost a year later, Friday, August 30th, that I would see the movie at the Big Apple Anime Fest in New York City. Like I said during my review of the TV show, favorite is a tricky concept, because anything that isn't your number one isn't really your favorite, but we use favorites to denote exceptions to greater numbers of things. Cowboy Bebop the TV series is my favorite anime TV series. Cowboy Bebop the movie, then, would be a natural for my favorite anime movie, right? Well, no, that honor still goes to Royal Space Force. But the Cowboy Bebop movie is easily in the top 5. Because every episode of Bebop was approached like a little film, it only made sense that Shinichiro Watanabe would expand the concept and make a film for the show. It was written by TV series scribe Keiko Nobumoto, had more music by the incomparable Yoko Kanno, and featured animation from artists like Yutaka Nakamura and Mitsuo Iso, under the umbrella of the new animation studio Bones, which worked in tandem with Sunrise. The movie is like an extra-long episode of the show, for all its strengths and weaknesses. Taking place towards the end of the series, the Cowboy Bebop movie, or Knockin' on Heaven's Door, is about the machinations of a terrorist named Vincent Villaju, who is spreading an engineered pathogen that he himself was exposed to during a war. The government of Mars puts out a huge bounty on his head that our favorite hungry hunters can't help but take notice of. So they pursue Vincent and his cohort Lee Sampson, involving themselves in the affairs of the Martian military, and it all comes down to a final showdown and an unforgettable conclusion. I don't want to do a blow-by-blow of the plot, and I talked about the main characters in my review of the TV show, so I want to concentrate on a few things about the movie, like its unsung secondary character, the city itself. Assuming that most of, if not all of the movie's environments are in the same place, we need to talk about Alba City, the setting. As soon as we're introduced to it, we find that it's a sprawling metropolis full of life, different cultural touchstones, which are often denoted by music, which I'll get into, and rich environmental touches that make it feel lived in. It's a living, breathing environment. You can feel the pulse of the people and their culture. A lot of this is because of the painstaking background art and various moving parts in crowd and wide shots. With little effort, it allows you to breathe the same air as the movie's characters. This is especially true of the part of the movie where Spike is out looking for clues and tracking Vincent, wandering around to different parts of town, and ending up on Moroccan Street. It's here that he meets the enigmatic Rashid, who ferries him through this section, which is somehow both busy and subdued.
رشيد السلام عليكم
مبسوط انه شفتك محمد.
شو عم تعمل هون؟
شخلي
يا رشيد
اهلا يا صديق.
يا رشيد
انا منيح.
بدك وجبة اسنان صار منيح.
رشيد صافي.
تعال نشرب شاي.
وقت تاني يا صديق.
Then there's the part where Edward and Ein go tracking down Samson, colorfully jaunting through dirty back streets and alleys. Then there's the sleeker, cleaner part of the city on the relatively spotless train, which is soon stained with blood, smoke, fire, and debris. And finally, the massive Halloween parade in the final act, which is just an embarrassment of visual riches that truly make the movie feel like it takes place in real life. These are just some of the main scenes to highlight the size, depth, and, for lack of a better term, realism of the movie. Relatively realism, I mean. Spike's got just amazing plot armor. The funny thing is that despite the sheer size of the environments and the eventual colossal stakes, the movie feels strangely intimate. This is because it focuses mostly on the actions of one Spike Spiegel, and highlights his kindred connection to Vincent. This movie is definitely Spike-centric, probably a good idea because he's the most layered character in the series, plus the best fighter, so it's good for action too. And the, hero of our story shares a similar outlook on life as our antagonist, one of alienation and haziness. a life filled with uncertainty and an almost complete disregard for one's own well-being. Of course, with Vincent, this is also amplified for his lack of concern for the well-being of others as well, but Spike can be reckless with others too, as the opening sequence provides. It is then that it is more remarkable that Spike does take that extra step to, as he dismisses, save the world, to ensure steps are taken to stop Vincent's madness before he engages him in a final battle. This is what separates him from Vincent. He may be overly cavalier, but he's not entirely callous. Still, as an imprisoned Spike says earlier in the film, he and Vincent share the same soul, similar souls in the English subtitles. They're people that are not so different, often seeing the world as a dream.
Is there an indelible line dividing sanity from insanity? Or do they change one into the other at the slightest turn of events? We'll find out soon enough that the world itself is insane.
As with any Shinichiro Watanabe directed anime, music plays a big part in this movie, as it did in the TV series, or perhaps even more so. Yoko Kanno's soundtrack is the viewer's companion throughout, from the upbeat yet smooth-ass DNA, the sassy and seductive Cosmic Dare, and the self-deprecating but exuberant Diggin', to instrumentals like Time to Know Be Waltz, the haunting Powder, and Fingers. The film's soundtrack follows the scenes, always amplifying but never patronizing the audience. Would the final battle between Spike and Vincent be awesome without Push in the Sky? Oh, no doubt, part of it even is without music. But does it highlight the scene's action beats and general attitude? Beautifully. Just as Is It Real helps demonstrate Vincent's fractured psyche and tragic elegance during the telling of his backstory. Then there's the more subdued piece Didgeridoo that soothes after the excitement from the big action piece in the middle of the movie. It can be said that in a way, much as the city is a character, the music itself is a character, the voice of the unseen that peers out from behind the curtain. But that might be a bit of a stretch. What isn't a stretch to say is that this movie might have the greatest hand-to-hand combat scenes in all of anime, or at least the anime I've ever seen. Spike's short sparring with Elektra and his two amazing battles against Vincent are some of the best choreographed action scenes I've ever witnessed. The action is fantastic. There's even a, perhaps a tad padded but otherwise excellent, aerial combat scene when Spike takes to the skies in his Swordfish 2. It's all very well animated and compelling. The movie does not skimp when it comes to action, but it never feels shoehorned in either, but rather complements the situations.
Are all the employees here like you? You got some pretty classy moves for a corporate girl.
The more that you know, the shorter your life will be.
I love the kind of woman that can kick my ass.
The question is, how does the movie stack up against the TV series? Well, as it is a single adventure in the Bebop world, it could only do so much about characterization. It's in line with one of the one-off standalone episodes of the series, instead of one of the arc episodes. Because its limit in only being able to tell one story rather than several, it doesn't explore the Bebop world as fully as the television series, but the corner of it does explore is pretty well explored, so I guess there's a trade-off. I'd say it's probably not as powerful as episodes like Ballad of Fallen Angels, or the two-part Jupiter Jazz, but it's well in line with episodes like Pierrot Le Fou and Cowboy Funk, but larger. It doesn't quite hit the highs the TV series does, but if you like the series, you're definitely going to at least like the movie, if not outright love it like I do. The budget is obviously a lot higher than the TV shows, and the music might be even better, though it's a tough act to follow, and the action more satisfying. It does just about everything the series sets out to do, so it's a great final note for the franchise to go out on. While I certainly wouldn't mind another movie at some point, it's fine with me if there never is one, and it being 19 years since the last one and Jet's Japanese VA having died, I doubt we'll ever see one. It's a triumph of a movie. It should be in anyone's collection along with the TV show.
Trick or treat! Trick or treat!
Shut up, kid. Halloween's tomorrow to get lost.
Well, that wasn't him.
Part of me would just love to gush about Cowboy Bebop forever, but I've got other anime to review. I'll be back with something else next time, but in the meantime, you have a safe and happy Halloween. If only we could celebrate it as intensely as it is in the movie this year. Ah well. Until next time, see ya!
Hey, taxi!